guys, welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia. Today is Sunday the 24th of September 2017 and I'm laughing because I'm recording this for like the 10th time. Stuff keeps happening, things keep going wrong. I finally was on a roll and then my phone rang and then my recording stopped and yeah, I don't know what's going on. Let's just pull through right now. So first of all, maybe I should mention I've had a cold. I was quite sick on Thursday. I worked from home on Friday. I'm definitely on the mend, but you might still be able to see and to hear that I've had a cold. So I'm very sorry about that. I really do want to get an episode out today because I have so many things to talk to you about, to show you, and also we're going away on holiday. So this is sort of the last possible time to record a podcast for about 2 weeks. So I'm just going to go for it and I hope that you'll enjoy the show. So let's just start with the fact that we have a Ravelry group which is called the Happy Knitting Podcast group, and that's where you can find the show notes for every episode as well as knit-alongs, giveaways, introduction threads, and so on. You can also find me on Instagram as the Happy Knitting Podcast if you haven't found me there yet and you do want to follow me, especially since we're going on a holiday. I'm mostly going to be active on there. I might be spamming photos from a holiday. So if you're interested in that, you might want to check that out, and if not, I completely understand as well. So let's just jump right in. These socks I finished for Kai. This yarn is from Nalibes Yarn on Etsy, who is Katharina. She has a German indie dyeing business, and she also started a podcast, which I will try to link in the show notes. I watched it for the first time yesterday. It is in German, but I thought it was quite lovely to see her in real life after sort of talking to her over Instagram, and she sent me some yarn and so on. Anyways, this is in her Wannabe Space colorway on her wool nylon blend. I think this is quite an old colorway. She sent this to me a while ago, but I'm so happy I finally knit it up and it's turned out really beautiful, I think. I did a 68 stitch sock for Kai, who is my boyfriend. I did 3x2 rib and then, as you can see, just a vanilla sock with a garter stitch heel. And if you're interested in that, watch last week's episode because I went into more detail about my garter stitch fish lips heel last week. Anyways, I'm super happy that these are done. When I knit on these flew off my needles. The only problem was that I kept stopping knitting on them. So I put them down for a week, and then I think the day of my last podcast, after podcasting, I picked them up. I was up here on the second sock, and I finished the entire sock in one night. So I don't know why it took me so long to finish these, but now they're done, and I think Kai loves them, and now he can wear them as well. Also, they're super loose on the sock blocker just because these sock blockers are not for Kai's feet. He has quite large feet, so yeah. Anyways, these are done and I'm very happy about that. I also have another finished object pair of socks. And these are my Halloween socks. I had no idea that I was going to finish these. I'm calling these my accidental FOs because I was just knitting on these socks. And then on Thursday, which was the day that I got sick, before work, I think I put in the garter stitch fish lips heel. And then I came home at I think 4 or 4:30, and I was feeling quite miserable, to be honest. And I was really cold and just coming down with a cold, really. And I just wanted something simple to knit. So I just picked up this sock and knit. And by the end of the night, suddenly I had Kitchener the toe and I was done. And I had no expectation of that happening whatsoever. So that was really, really fun. So as you can see, these are quite long socks. I did 20 rows of 2x2 rib, 80 rows of stockinette, a garter stitch fish lips heel, and a simple wedge toe. I love this yarn to death. This is from another German indie dyer called Farbenpracht Garne. Again, I will try to link her in the show notes. And this was her Halloween colorway. I think I bought this from her last year, so it's been in my stash, waiting to be turned into some Halloween socks for quite a while, and I'm so happy with this pooling and the colors. This is just so fun. I couldn't have imagined it to turn out this beautiful. I really, really love it. And I can't wait to wear these. You know, I love my really super long socks, so this is just perfect. I should mention both of the socks that I just shown you were knit on 2.25mm US size 1 needles. So these are my sock FOs for this week, which I really didn't expect to have. I also finished a baby hat for the daughter of a friend who just turned 1. So I will try to insert a little photo here. Essentially, I just knit a ribbed hat with stockinette, and then at the top I just knit a little I-cord and put a knot in it because I've always wanted to do that and I think it looks really cute on babies. The yarn that I used was mostly sheepwood Garner in the Never Say Never colorway, which I used to knit a pair of socks for myself on our last trip to France. So, moving on to works in progress. But first, let's have some coffee. This is the mug that Kai brought for me from his business trip to Berlin last year, I think, and I really, really love it. So I have 3 works in progress if you're not counting my blankets, which I'm not. But one of them is my Good Vibes shawl, which I have worked on a ton, but I'm still in garter stitch land and it's super boring to show you, so I decided to not even bring that out. I'll show it to you once I reach the lace. Although, having said that, I'm not really sure if I want to take that on a holiday because I don't really like big projects for travel knitting, so I haven't really made my mind up about that yet. So I have 2 new whips to show you. First of all, my friend Grace and we've been wanting to do a sock cast on together, so we decided to cast on the Monkey Socks, which is a pattern by Cookie A. And after a bit of pondering, I decided to go with this yarn, which is another yarn from Sheepwood Garner. This is in her soft sock base in the Fantasy colorway. And this is very special to me because Kai got me this colorway when I first got my job in the beginning of the year. So it just seemed very fitting. So I started a sock. I did a 2-meter rib rather than the rib that's recommended in the pattern because I just prefer that. And then I started knitting on the Monkey Sock pattern, which is a free pattern on knitty.com if you're interested. And then I think I just wanted to send her a photo, so I put it on my wrist to kind of show her how it looks stretched out. And then I figured it looks really, really nice for a mitten. So I turned my monkey socks into monkey mittens. So I did the cuff, like just the ribbing, the day before last. And then last night I picked it up and I knit the entire rest of the mitt. So this sort of just happened, but I'm super, super excited about this because I love this pattern. It's the 3rd time I knit it, or at least I knit 2 monkey socks pairs before. And this was going to be my 3rd, but like I said, I just really thought this would be really special as a fingerless mitt because A, the yarn is very special to me, B, it is super soft, so it makes sense to have this as a mitten. And this would be great for walking to work or even for typing because I have my fingers out. I can do anything, so if it's really cold in the office, this would be perfect. So what I did was I did 20 rows of 2x2 rib. Then I did 2 repeats of the patterning, just over 64 stitches as you would for a sock. And then I just did my gusset. And if you're wondering how I did that, I published a free pattern called How I Knit My Fingerless Mitts last year on Ravelry, so you can just find that by going onto my profile. You'll find it there, and I'll try to link it as well. So I just used these instructions to do the gusset. So the instructions are just for a sort of vanilla mitt, even though I already say in the pattern that you can just use that as a recipe to sort of use with other patterns, or if you want to put some cables onto your mittens, that's fine. So I just used that to create a little gusset. And I think that went over about 2 repeats of the pattern, and then I did 1.5 repeats more, and then I just did another 10 rounds of ribbing, and now I'm done. So my first mitt is done and I love it. For me, it's the perfect combination of pattern and yarn and color. You guys know how much I love my socks, but I think this might actually be pretty on my hands than it would be on my feet. So I'm loving how this knit up, and it was super fast to knit as well. So yeah, I made some accidental monkey mitts. And you can see I did the other half of the mitten just in stockinette. And yeah, I really, really like these mitts. The color is coming out a bit too blue, which is what tends to happen with purples. They are very, very hard to film. But let's see. You can kind of see it like that. It's really, really beautiful. I will definitely create a project page for this, so if you want to do something similar, I promise I will write down what I did, and maybe if you're interested you can do the same thing. I did start my second one this morning, but I'm still on the ribbing. I feel like the ribbing was the slowest thing on the entire thing. Once I got into the patterning, which, because I've done it quite a few times, I have memorized, it just was such a quick knit. It just flew off my needles last night, and yeah. I was like, I just want to start the gusset. And then I did, and I was like, well, I just want to finish that and then just go on to the top part of the mitten. And then I was like, oh, I'll just knit until I reach the ribbing. And then suddenly I had bound it off. So yes, very, very happy with my accidental monkey mitts. I'm knitting this once again on sock needles on 2.25 millimeter Chagu red lace. I think that's what they're called. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this. I would definitely recommend the monkey pattern for socks as well. It's just a really fun and pretty pattern to knit. What did I want to say about this? I have no idea, I forgot. But yeah, I'm hoping to finish these rather quickly, maybe even before our holiday, because I don't want to take something with me that's going to be almost finished and then have to carry it around on the plane and such. So we'll see how that goes, but yeah, I'm very happy with this, and yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of stumped. I feel like I had something very specific to say about this, but now I don't remember, so we'll just move on. The other work in progress that I have, which is also a new cast on, is a pair of stripy socks. In my bag from Marion, which she gave me last week, and I talked about that then, is a pair of socks out of some club yarn from Nicole C. Mendes. But I think this was her like second to last or even third to last club colorway, so I'm sure all of you guys who are in the club will have received it already. It is Nicole C. Mendes yarn in her soft sock base in the poppy colorway. This is what it looks like in the cake. And I decided to just go with some plain vanilla socks. I tried a few different patterns and kept on ripping it out. So in the end, I just decided to let the stripes speak for themselves. So I have already finished the first sock, and this is how it's striped up. I think it turned out really, really fun. I did 20 rows of 2x2 rib, and then it's just a tube at the moment because I have not put in my afterthought heel yet. I think I'm just going to do an afterthought heel in the same yarn. This is roughly where it's going to go with the stitch marker from Share My Passion, which she sent me. She has an Etsy store. I talked about it a few months back. And yeah, so I've started the second sock. With these ones I am making them to match. And yeah, now I just have to zip down the foot. So again, I'm not sure if it makes sense. We're going on holiday in 3 days. By the time we leave, I'll probably be almost done with these. So again, I might try to have them almost finished and then just leave them at home and finish them when I get back. But I'm not sure yet. I'm doing 64 stitches, again, US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needles. And these are my higher sharp fixed circulars. And I'll leave them out for now because I might come back to them later. But yeah, so those are my only 2 whips that I'm showing you this week. Where should I go on? I've done some spinning. Let's talk about that very quickly. I'm not going to take my spinning off the wheel, but I mentioned last week that I was spinning some more sock yarn from fiber from Elfenwolle, so I just thought I'd show that very quickly. Once again, I don't know what's wrong. Tina, I keep forgetting your colorway names. Like, I'm not usually this bad, but with every single colorway from Elfenwolle, who in the dye behind that is Tina, I always forget the colorway names. I'm so sorry about that. But it's a merino nylon blend. I split it into 4 strips, and I just tend to put them into little balls like that, and then I just spin from them, and it makes spinning really fun and easy. Having said that, I haven't made too much progress. I'm going for a chain ply sock yarn, so I'm spinning relatively fine singles in order to have a 3-ply sock yarn weight yarn in the end. So we'll see how that goes. I'll definitely keep you up to date. Also for spinning, I finished this and I have no idea what it is because it was actually already spun up and plied and just sat around on my bobbin, sadly. So I finally freed my bobbins and I just wound this off, gave it a bath. It's some kind of 2-ply. I think it might be a BFL because it doesn't seem like a nylon blend. Like a merino blend. I think it might be a BFL, but I really don't remember. So if any of you guys remember what I was spinning a few months back and never finished, let me know. This is about 70 grams and it's quite thin. It's probably a light fingering weight or something. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it, but now that it's all finished, I think it's actually quite pretty. So I'm back. I just had to dump a few things off my phone. So let's talk about a little review first. So before I get into the actual review, let me just say that I love doing reviews, but I will only ever review things that I love, from companies that I like, from dyers that I like, and I would never sort of advertise things to you that I don't agree with. I'm always going to be honest with my reviews, and I was actually really excited when Alex from Haya Europe got in touch with me, I think about 2 weeks ago, and asked me if I would like to test some of their products. And I was really excited because I think if you've been following my podcast and knitting journey, you know how much I really like my Haya sharp needles, which maybe I'll talk about a little bit later as well. So the fact that I was contacted by a company whose products I already really enjoyed was very exciting for me. So they got in touch with me and asked me whether I would like to review something, and I said of course I would love to. So a little package from Haya arrived this week. First of all, with a lovely card, they sent me their latest sort of like catalog with all their products. So this is the company, Haya. They always have their panda bear here, which I think is super cute. And what they sent me was a notions tin. So I think this is relatively new. They have different notion tins, which you can buy, and they have different themes with different contents. So what they sent me was this tiny little notions tin. It has a panda and a pink heart on there. There's also different designs according to what I saw on their webpage. And what they sent me was, first of all, they sent me these stitch markers. I left them in the package to start with. They're little yarn balls, which are so cute. Let me just take one out to show them to you. There you go. They don't open, but they would be really great for knitting lace, where you have to sort of mark repeats of your pattern. These would be really handy and also very cute. And because they're not out of metal or anything, they're really light, so those would not sort of drag down your stitches or get caught anywhere, I would imagine. So those are the first thing they sent me. They also sent me these bulb stitch markers, which are my favorite kind of stitch marker, which they didn't know, it just sort of happened. I have quite a few of these in my collection already. When you purchase Haya needles, they usually come with one of these as well, so that's really neat, I think, when you get a needle from them to get a little stitch marker. And I'm sure most of you have seen these before. But they are out of metal, and you can either use them as a stitch marker like this and just slide them onto your needle, but you can also open them. Oops. There you go. So you can just put them on and take them off very easily. So with these ones, if you use them in a lace repeat and then somehow manage to knit them into your project, you can just open them up. You don't have to rip out your knitting, which, believe me, I have done before. Also, I use these a lot to just mark my progress on my socks. So I just put them in at a certain point, or when I start to heel, or if I've counted my rows. So these are sort of like stitch markers as well as progress keepers. And I know there are a lot of really sort of fancy progress keepers out there that are like knitting jewelry, which I do love, but most of the time those are really heavy and they tend to get sort of tangled in my yarn and my project bag, whereas these ones are definitely my favorite, and I use this kind of stitch marker a whole lot. So I'm super excited about these, and they sent me sort of like a rainbow colored pack, which of course I love. So the idea is that you put these notions in that tin and then you can just take it with you wherever you go, which is super handy considering I'm going on a trip in a few days. So I'm going to put my notions in this tiny handy box, and I will test it throughout our trip in France and then let you know how I feel about it. But so far I'm really, really excited about this. They also sent me a little higher button, which is really cute. I'm starting to get a bit of a button collection, so at some point I'm going to have to find somewhere to attach these buttons onto. And yeah, I'm very, very excited about this, to be honest. Like I said, it came at the perfect time, and I think with notions, you always need a ton of notions. I don't know about you guys, but I do also kind of leave my notions everywhere, and sometimes I'm sure I've lost plenty of progress keepers and stitch markers and stuff in the past, so it's always good to have a big supply of that. And I looked on the internet, on their website, and they have lots of different sort of notion tin kits. So there's one which I love, I kind of maybe need to get, which is sort of the same set, but it's all in pink, and you know me, I'm such a girly girl, I love pink, and that was really cute. But there's also different sets. And in this handy dandy catalog that they sent me, you can see some of the accessories that you can get. Whoops, those are the needles. I'm so well prepared. There's also like end stoppers, so your stitches don't fall off. There's little there's little scissors, which I have one of these and I love them. And all of these could go into their notion tins as well. So you can just kind of pick and choose whatever you need for your notion tin, and then I'm just going to throw this into my project bag or even my handbag when I'm out and about, and yeah, I think this is really, really handy. So like I said, I will get back to you on this. I'm going to test these out, see what I like about them, what maybe I don't like, even though I'm not really sure what you can hate about stitch markers. But I really appreciate that I was asked to review, and yeah, thank you so much, Alex, for reaching out to me. Anyways, that's it for my review. Now, what should I do next? Let's talk about some acquisitions. I only have I guess two skeins to show you this week, and that is the Hedgehog Fibers Sock Club. So if you're in the club and you don't want to be spoiled, please look away, because I'm going to share what I got. I have the Sock Yarn Club, not the Twist Club, but the normal Sock Yarn Club. So, spoiler warning, please do look away. I hate seeing spoilers. I hate people who spoil things on Instagram and don't think about other people who have maybe not received theirs yet. So you have been warned. So the package came. This is my first ever sock club from Hedgehog Fibers. I've been wanting to do one for about 2 years, but it was never the right time, and I am just so excited. I could not wait to go home when I found out that my package had been delivered, and I am so excited about what I got. I thought about it before, and I really couldn't imagine not loving what they sent me, considering I love pretty much all colors, and I love all Hedgehog Fibers, but I love the yarns that they sent me. So you get two skeins. The first one was this one, which is sort of like Halloween-y and awesome. This is called Fly Trap. It's a gray with this sort of like neon green yellow at the top, which I think is so fun. Not sure if it's going to show up very well, but it has some pink speckled through it, and I love this range of colors. Am I the only one who thinks this is Halloween-y? I definitely 100% love this. There's this sort of like blue at the bottom as well. It's just a really, really pretty skein, and this is exactly the sort of thing that I've been wanting from the club. I've wanted some, out there colorways, and yeah, I love this. And then the second one they sent me, I love even more than this one. And that one is called, let's see, Iceberg. And isn't this amazing? I've definitely been into the blues and mints lately. And this one is just perfect. Again, it's kind of blowing out, but it's this beautiful sort of like turquoisey blue and then white and speckles. And let me just give you a close-up here. Obviously, every skein of hedgehog is a little bit different, so yours might be a little bit different as well if you're a part of the club, but I think it's really, really stunning. That's actually a pretty good color representation right there. So safe to say, I love my first shipment. I am not regretting the money spent on this, and I can't wait to turn these into some socks. Because yes, my hedgehog sock drawer is going to happen. And I've talked about that quite a few times. Very, very happy about these. So, that's it for my acquisitions and for my regular sort of podcast segments. But one thing I thought I would talk about today is some of the sweaters that I've knit recently and how they've held up in terms of the yarn that I've used. So maybe I should start with the one that I'm wearing today. This whole camera blowing up thing is really annoying me today. I'm wearing the Harvest sweater, which is a tin can knits pattern. It's a free pattern, and I knit it out of Malabrigo Rios, which I think is a worsted weight, either DK or worsted weight yarn. I think it's worsted. It's a merino yarn, and it's very soft, so I was always expecting it to pill, and that's exactly what it's done. I finished this a couple of months back, and in the first couple of months I didn't wear it a whole ton. But then recently this has sort of become the sweater that I put on in the mornings before I go to work, when I'm still at home and I don't want to be messing up my work clothes when having breakfast and so on. So I just cuddle up in this a lot before work, after work, so this has gotten quite a bit of wear. And this has definitely started to pill. This is going to be hard. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show this to you. It's just a super soft yarn, so there's nothing surprising about the fact that it has pill. Okay, let me take it off. And I'm not complaining about it. I think with this yarn I always knew that this was going to happen. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen this quickly. But can you see the sort of pilling going on at the sleeve here? It's really hard to show on camera, but it's just at the bottom of the arms and just anywhere where it rubs. It does start to pill. I really don't care. I think it's still really beautiful. But I'm surprised it happened this quickly, to be honest. Especially because I'm not very hard on my sweater. I think this has been washed once. And like I said, I'm very careful with my hand knits. So yeah, I would knit with this yarn again, for sure, because I think it's just such a good staple yarn. And it's relatively good value for money as well, considering it's an indie dyed yarn or hand dyed yarn. But it is something you might want to consider if you're more perfectionist than me. The second sweater that I wanted to show you is one that has held up so well. This is the Breathing Space sweater by Vera Välimäki. I knit this last winter, and I knit this out of Drops Flora, which was at the time a very new fingering weight yarn from them. I think it's a wool alpaca blend. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I think it's like a 60% wool, 40% alpaca. And I did not love knitting with it because it is just a tiny bit rustic. It's not like scratchy, but it's not super soft. So I wasn't really sure how much I was going to love it, but this sweater with wearing and washing has improved so much. I had not expected that at all. So just by wearing it, this has become super, super soft. It's turned into a very lovely fabric, much nicer than it was to start with. Because of the alpaca, it does have a bit of a halo, but this is definitely my most worn sweater out of all the sweaters that I'm showing you today. And this still looks absolutely perfect. The alpaca gives it a bit of a halo. I'm not sure if you can even pick it up. But can you see how beautiful the stitches are all lined up? And there's absolutely no pilling on this. Let me show you maybe on the straps. You can see some of the alpaca has like longer hairs, but this yarn has just bloomed and become more beautiful over time. So while I wasn't really sure about it when I first knit the sweater, seeing how this developed over time has definitely convinced me to knit more with this Drops Flora yarn, which is also a very, very affordable yarn. So I think this was like €1 per ball or something ridiculously cheap. So yeah, like I said, I'm very, very surprised about this in the best possible way. And I think because this yarn is so nice, I've been wearing this sweater so much. I love it when you knit something and then it actually becomes, you know, like a staple in your wardrobe, and this sweater definitely has. Also, the pattern fit is great with this one. I mentioned before that some of my sweaters don't fit fantastically, but this one, actually all of Ravelry Group's patterns that I've knit so far have been the best fitting sweaters that I've knit. And this one is no exception. So super, super happy with this one, and I actually love how it looks on camera now as well. So yeah, that's my breathing space. And all of these sweaters can be found in my project page as well on Ravelry if you're interested. The next sweater that I want to show you is my featherweight, my second featherweight that I knit two. And this one was knit out of an alpaca yarn. This is Mirasol Sulca Legato, which I think is from Peru or something. And this is an alpaca and silk, I think wool alpaca and silk blend. And this is probably the oldest sweater that I'm showing you, but I only did this about pretty much a year ago as well. So it's not super old, and you can see pills everywhere. This has pilled a lot. You can see here, and I'm not really showing you the worst part. This is just the sleeve. So all in all, with this sweater, of course, your yarn choice is going to affect the wearability of your things a lot. I still love this sweater because of the silk and the alpaca, it has a really wonderful drape. So it wears really well, and I think it looks really, really pretty. Like, the fabric as a whole is definitely beautiful. And this was never the yarn that was meant for longevity, I think. So, like I said, I'm not overly disappointed about this at all, but I'm not sure how long this sweater is going to stay in rotation. And if you only know, you're only going to knit like a sweater maybe once every 2 years, so you might want to consider a different yarn for that. I generally really don't like it when people complain about yarns, like, I used 100% merino yarn and then it didn't work well for socks, or this yarn is 100% Norwegian wool, but it's rustic. And like, the thing is that different yarns just have different qualities, so it's always a bit of a trade-off. And I think it's really important, if you have certain expectations of yarns, to really think about what yarn will go with what kind of project. So that's just my personal view on that, and I'd be happy to go more into that if you guys are interested in that, but that's just my 2 cents on that. My last sweater that I'm going to show you, you've seen very recently, and that's my faded pavement sweater, which is another sweater by Ravelry Group, and my hair is going everywhere. I blow-dried my hair yesterday, and I never do, and when I do, my hair comes out so weird and different, and I hate it, and it's sidetracking me this entire podcast as well. Anyways, I only finished this like 10 days ago, and I basically wore it for 10 days straight. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on that as well, even though it is still very, very new. But considering I've only worn this for 10 days, again, this yarn is starting to pill, which is kind of crazy. Like, I've barely even put that on my body yet, and it's already pilling. This is again a 100% merino yarn. It is from Alcania and Debbie Bliss on their Botany lace base. And of course it's not bad, but considering it's only been finished for 10 days and has not been washed, yeah, sorry, be grossed out if you don't like that. I don't wash my sweaters that often because it's just not very good for them, and for woolen sweaters, just hanging them outside usually does the trick. Anyways, right now the sweater is still really beautiful, but I think I can see that these stitches are already starting to full and to felt a little bit just from wearing it, and this is definitely not going to get better. You can see already the halo up here. Once again, this is to be expected. It is 100% merino yarn, But they have some really pretty colorways that I wish I could use for socks, but this is just proving to me that I was right in my idea not to use this for socks, because I think they would go so fast. Not complaining about this at all. The fact that it has slightly felted just by wearing it, and the stitches are kind of more drawn together, has created a very beautiful fabric. Again, I think the drape of this is amazing, and it is very cozy. It is maybe cozier than my Breathing Space, which has less pilling, but is just more of a rustic yarn. But again, it's just something you might want to keep in mind when choosing yarn for a project. I'm still in love with this sweater. I'm going to wear it a ton, but I'm very intrigued and interested to see how this will look in maybe 6 months' time, and I will definitely go back on this then and report back to you. So yeah, I just thought that might be interesting to you guys as well. If it was, do let me know. If it wasn't, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time. So, I realized I was going to talk about my Higher Sharps needles as well, but I'm just going to mention that another time. And I've mentioned those needles like a million times already anyways, so I think you all know how I feel about them. So, the only thing that's left to talk about it for today, until I can finally finish my podcast and my poor boyfriend can go back in here in this room, because I kicked him out to record this podcast and he was shattered. Anyways, as for life in general, this is my segment where I just blather on about life, so if you're not interested in that, don't worry, and I will just see you in the next episode. And if you do want to stick around, like I said, today's Sunday. I think, yeah, I've actually been pretty good with recording weekly again lately, but nothing much has happened in between last weekend and this weekend. It's been a very long week, not in the sense that it was a bad week at all. It just dragged on a bit. I think also because I've been under the weather, everything just has been a little bit harder. I still worked the entire week. I worked Friday from home, which was nice. Yesterday, like I said, I went to the first birthday party of my friend's daughter, which was lovely. It was a shame that Kai couldn't come because I got him a little bit sick as well, but oh well, at least once we go on a holiday, we should be on the mend. So today is Sunday, we have 2 more days of work, one of which I'm going to Oktoberfest, so that's only going to be half a day of work. And then we'll leave to go to the south of France on Wednesday. We're staying for about 10 days, which I'm super excited about. We're in the area near Marseille and Arles, so if you're in the area, if you've been to the area, if you know of yarn shops, please do let me know. I would love to have some recommendations. I will be on Instagram, maybe doing some Instagram stories while I'm there. I will not be recording for sure. And then we get back on the Saturday, and on Sunday there's a yarn festival here. It's the yarn festival in Vaterstetten, which is close to Munich. And I've been excited about this all year long. I went last year, and yeah, I'm super excited about that. So I may have kind of planned our trip in the way that I can still go on Sunday. So I am just super excited about that. Sorry, my sniffles are getting worse. I'm super excited about that, and that does mean that by the time I podcast next, I'll probably have lots of holiday talk, lots of holiday knitting, and also hopefully some yarn festival acquisitions. So that should be a very long episode when I get back. So that does mean that I will of course not record next week. The earliest I'll be back is in 2 weeks' time. Depending on how I feel, I won't be jet lagged, there is no time difference, stupid Julia. But just how tired I am and how much time I have. Until then, I would love to see you over on Ravelry, on Instagram. I of course love hearing from you after my episodes, in the comments and messages. Let's just stay up to date, and of course I love seeing what you guys are knitting on over at Instagram and stuff as well. So until then, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate those of you who come back every week, and also those of you who take the time to check out a new podcast. It always takes me a while to get into new podcasts, so if you do, thank you so much. I would love for you to become a regular viewer, maybe subscribe, maybe join in the conversation at some point. Until I see you again, have a great 2 weeks. Happy knitting. Bye.